Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to another extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and I'm joined by my co-host Tony Robinson, where today we're joined by a very special guest who back in February came over to Accrington Stanley from Southport and has become a fixture in the Accrington midfield since. Welcome to the show, David Morgan. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to getting to know you, David. Since you just joined Stanley, but this is our chance to sort of delve into your background, and it's always fun to talk about a person's journey to where they are today, and you've got quite a journey, and to start off with. You moved from Northern Ireland to Nottingham at the age of 14, I believe. How was that for you to start off your career that young?
It was straightforward, to be honest with you. I didn't move. I didn't really have many friends because I was a bit younger. I was socialising outside with, so it made my move a little bit easier. And then I moved straight into digs and made new friends, obviously, through football, and that made it a lot easier for me.
Well, you spent 4 years in the youth system at Notts Forest. That must have been, obviously they've developed some top players over the time. That must have been quite an experience for you.
That's what really drew me there in the first place was their history of producing footballers coming through their academy and things like that. And I'll be honest, I was probably there at one of the most turbulent times through different managers and things like that. But I've only got positive things to say about Nottingham Forest. So it was a great place for me to be at that stage in my career.
Yeah, and then when you after you left Forest, after your youth career, you had, and this is not uncommon for players at your age when you left Notts Forest, you went on loans to Lincoln, and you went up to Dundee and then to Tamworth. So how is life for a player when they move around like that at such a young age? How impactful is it on your career?
Yeah, the Lincoln one and the Tamworth one, they were fairly straightforward because they were within reasonable distance to travel. So I was able to stay in my house in Nottingham. But the Dundee one was a real last minute deadline day, and it was an opportunity that I couldn't say no to, because really, if I'd gone there and played, who knows what could happen? My career could have kicked on from there. And it's one of them things, you've got to take risks in life, and that didn't quite work out the way that I had visualised it when the opportunity came. But I suppose them situations, you learn from them and you take what you can from it, from positives and negatives, and it creates sort of the person that I am today.
Yeah, and obviously, and I think this is something that doesn't get enough recognition, is that non-league. There's so many teams in that non-league tier system, but without those teams, really the Football League as we know it, League One, League Two, really wouldn't be in existence, would they?
No, it allows players who maybe haven't quite made the cut at 19, 20, 21, maybe it allows them players to go and develop a little bit further through men's football. And a lot of lads at that level are probably good enough to play in the Football League. It's just about getting an opportunity, and that's something that I'll always be very grateful of. The non-league teams that I've played for, they gave me a platform to go and play, and once I had established myself within them teams, it was a great environment for me to be involved with.
And like you play for Harrogate, and obviously we'll go to Southport in a little bit, but Harrogate have obviously come a long way, and now are in League Two. You must look back and think fondly that you were a part of that journey.
Yeah, I was only at Harrogate a short period of time, but right through sort of even when I first came away from Forest and joined that non-league team, I played against Harrogate and always thought they were a good side. So when the opportunity came to go and play there, again, that was just a club that I knew that was striving to get to sort of League Two, League One, and are almost quite similar to a lot of the teams that want to do it, that want to be a sustainable club. They're not throwing silly money at it to get there. But again, somewhere that I went, I really enjoyed. Got the utmost time for everyone around the football club. It's quite a similar setup to Accrington Stanley, where everyone's on the same wavelength and you can speak to everyone around the place. And that's the beauty of like them types of clubs is the sort of feeling that you get around the place where everyone's together.
And you had a little spell at AFC Fylde, which is another team, non-league team with a nice stadium and a bit of money that was to develop their team. You were only there a short spell, but it's another club that really has had ambitions to move up the tier system, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, we go back to that little bit that I said before about Harrogate. Accrington Stanley, for example, when they were at this level, Fylde are a little bit different. They want to do things a little bit quicker, and they see paying a little bit more money or whatever way you want to say it as being the easiest way to get out of the leagues. But I suppose when you know that that's the sort of style that club want to adapt, you're always cautious and wary that when you go to the next level, you're always thinking, maybe they're going to move people on here and just buy whatever they need to buy to bring in to compete at the next level. It's a very different environment, and that's no disrespect to AFC Fylde. Again, fabulous club and everything that they're doing. I sort of stand back and admire because there's different ways. You know the old saying, there's different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
What you said about the way that things are with Stanley, where it's just kind of a family environment. I mean, I think that's the common theme that we just hear time and time again. And here we are. You've only been with the club, I think, what is it, about 7-8 weeks now, and you already feel like you're part of the family, and that's why we love Accrington Stanley, and that's why from 5,000 miles away in Phoenix, Arizona, I picked Accrington Stanley to be my club. It's just that environment, and of course it's John Coleman and Andy Holt and everybody. It just comes from the top down. So I imagine, was that something where when Accrington came calling, you knew that the club already kind of had that reputation and it made it a place that you wanted to come?
Yeah, in football, it's such a small world. You know people that know other people, and anytime like John Coleman's name had been mentioned, everyone had high praise for him. Same with the chairman. He the whole way through sort of like the lockdown, I remember people sending me screenshots of like what he was saying on Twitter, about football continuing and things like that, and he was the one who spoke the most sense. So it was something that when the opportunity came, I knew the club was, the best way to describe it was that the club was down to earth and everyone at the club was down to earth. They weren't kidding anyone on, or they weren't trying to fool anyone. Everyone knows what you get when you go to Accrington Stanley.
I mean, things were going very well for you at Southport. You were captain. You had scored 22 goals in 128 starts. I mean, you were really in a spot where you were having a lot of success, and you had found your place. So, was it a difficult decision to want to leave, or was it just when Accrington came calling, you knew that's where you wanted to go to?
No, there was no difficult decision. The only sort of thing that crossed my mind was how much I loved being at Southport. I loved being the captain, and turning up every session and every game was a joy. I really enjoyed my football. And in the back of your mind, you think, oh, well, if you change club, you might not enjoy it as much as what you're enjoying it now. And that's sort of from leaving Nottingham Forest as a teenager. That's what I wanted to get back to, was enjoying my football. And I didn't get that for 3 or 4 years at certain places. And I found somewhere in Southport where I loved my football. And it wasn't no surprise to me that when I enjoyed my football and I was happy, that, like you say, I put in good performances and goals followed. So that was the only sort of thing. But when push came to shove, it was like, well, it's an opportunity for you to go and show other people. But it was more so, go and prove to yourself that you're more than capable of playing at that level, because that's what you've set out to do from you were a young kid. So it wasn't about like proving people wrong who maybe had let me go or who doubted me. It was about myself. You're more than good enough. So that's the mindset that sort of made the move a lot easier and a lot sort of, like you say, there was no thought process really. It was just go and do it.
So when with this obviously being at Southport, you were, it's like a pair of slippers. You were comfortable, and they knew you knew them, and you fit right in. And then, did you ever at any point think, I may have missed the chance to get into the Football League? Moving over at the age that you are is not sort of a common thing. Did you ever sort of say it's not going to happen for me?
I had never completely written it off, but each sort of passing day, you lost a little percentage of hope. So even like, I remember speaking to the Southport manager and saying to him, I feel that I'm more than capable. It's getting that opportunity. And he always said to me, listen, I will never stand in your way if the opportunity comes. But he said, you've got to believe that you're going to get that opportunity. Now, whether that comes in 10 days time or whether that comes in 2 years time, you've still got to play with that belief that opportunity will arrive. So I always sort of had the belief, and I had the belief in myself that I was capable. But with every passing day and the older you're getting, you're thinking, well, maybe the boat sort of has set sail here and I've missed it a little bit. But it's always in the back of your mind that an opportunity still might come along.
When did you realize, or when did you know that Accrington were interested?
Probably about 10 days before the deal actually happened. It was literally a throwaway comment from the Southport manager where he said, "What would your thought process be if they were interested, or if a league club was interested in you?" Because it was a unique situation where the Southport's league was going to get voted null and void, and he had a bit of an inkling that was going to happen. So we knew that there was an opportunity for me potentially to go on loan to a National League team or a Football League team, and it would have been such a free hit for someone to have a look at me for 6 months or to just have me around their squads. So that was how it initially came about, and I had a chat with him and I said, explain my situation and things like that. And then on the 1st of February, which was deadline day, which was the Monday, the Southport manager phoned me at 2:00 and things progressed from there.
And there's obviously a connection between Stanley and Southport, because you would have been there and played with Dion Charles. Did you reach out to Dion at all and ask him for any advice or a heads up or whatever?
Yeah, I spoke to Dion on a regular basis anyway about how he was getting on and things like that. And I actually texted him as soon as I got that phone call on the Monday at 2:00. I texted him saying, "Have you heard anything? Because I'm meant to be they're showing a bit of interest." And then he rang me at 3:00 and he was able to say to me, "Yeah, I've just had John Coleman on the phone to me. I think it might be happening." So he actually came round to my house. He only lives 20 minutes away, so he came round to my house just as I was about to leave to go and sign.
And then there's also Dean Winner that is a player coach at Southport that obviously had a stellar career at Stanley. Is he somebody that you could get some advice from as well?
To be honest, no. I never really contacted him regarding it. It happened that quickly that it wasn't even a situation where you could think about it, if you know what I mean. It was just, this is what's happening, and you have to go with it. And obviously that's exactly what I wanted.
Now we have Peter Latham, who is, of course, the chairman of the Accrington Stanley Supporters Trust, is the one who arranges these interviews for us usually. And Peter always sends in a couple of questions for us, and that's something that we call Peter's Corner. And I thought it would be a good time to ask one of our Peter's Corner questions right now, because Tony was talking about your connection with Dion Charles earlier, who, of course, also is a fellow Northern Irishman, and he has played for he had recently gotten called up to the Northern Ireland squad. And of course, you've played for the under 17, 19, and 21 teams. And Peter was wanting to know, what are your ambitions with the Northern Ireland team?
I think, to be honest, before I start getting carried away with things like that, I think it's important that I sort of remember where I've come from, and before I start thinking about it, I think it's important that I focus on becoming a regular within the Accrington Stanley team before I start thinking too far ahead of myself. But if the opportunity did arise, it's something that I wouldn't be able to turn down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something where everybody is always looking to be able to represent your country, just because it's such an honor. But it sounds like to me that club football and League One is your main focus right now. And that kind of leads into one of Peter's other questions that he had sent in. Is he said, you look entirely at home in League One and doesn't think your first League One goal is too far off. He said, do you think the effort saved by the wicket keeper's foot was the one?
Yeah, to be honest, I've watched that chance back numerous times, and I still think to myself, how has he managed to save it? Because it's a great save, but how he's managed to get it up and round the post without parrying it to, I think it's Sean McConville who's waiting on a tap in. So yeah. I hope Peter's right, and I hope it comes sooner rather than later, because you don't want to get into that scenario where you're starting to panic about it and think, I've played a lot of games here now. When is it going to come? And it starts to become a psychological battle. So hopefully it comes sooner rather than later.
Well, I think that's it's similar to when you get into a losing streak, isn't it, David? That you're fighting, and if you lose another match, you don't get the result, and it just seems to be harder and harder. But it looks like your performance, yours and the team's against Wigan, was a turning point. That I think you've got that bad form out of your system, and I thought you guys were unlucky not to get more than 3 against Wigan.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think it was important as a squad for us to realise that with results not particularly going our way recently, it's very difficult to play your way out of that sort of situation, and I know that that's the sort of style that we want to play. We want to pass the football, but it's very difficult to do that, to get out of a bad run of form. So we had to roll our sleeves up, and I think the most important and the most pleasing thing from that game on Saturday was that the fact that we won the battle as such. Showed great character, showed great desire to get on the end of things, and hopefully, like you say, that'll allow us to turn a corner. And with people coming back from injury, we can kick on from here now.
I think the what told me, sent a strong message to me, was how quickly you guys rebounded after that slip up in the first minute. And then Cameron Burgess got that goal, and he just the header, and he almost put it through the net. And he got the ball and just ran back to the center line. That showed me that, it was like, come on, fellas, we're going to get some more. And just that determination, he just wanted to get on with the match again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Scoring so quickly changes the whole dynamic of the game. And once you get one, you're hungry for more. Best time, they say the worst time for a team, they're at their most brittle when they've just scored, which is exactly what happened. And we actually turned that on its head and went the other way. And once we scored, we went and got another one. So I think, like I said to you, that's the sort of mentality that we've got within the squad, and the desire and character. And I think that's the most pleasing thing.
Well, we want to definitely dive deeper into your games with Accrington and talk some stats and things like that later. But before we do that, at the beginning, we did tell you that there's some fun questions. In this segment, it's become the most popular part of our show. This was the grand invention of Tony Robinson. So Tony, I'm just going to turn it over to you now for the now world famous rapid fire.
Oh dear, you do set me off every time you do that, Phil. I got to tell you, I bet you didn't learn this in your sports degree course you took at university, David. But we'll give it a shot anyway. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Okay. There's a couple of standard ones that we usually kick off with. Mushy or garden peas?
Mushy.
Good man. On your bacon sandwich, red or brown sauce?
Red.
And if you were to have a full English outside of training, would you have black pudding with that?
I would.
Good man. And who's your favorite band or musician?
Difficult one. I'd probably have to say The Script.
Do you know them, Phil?
Not too much. I would have to say that's what I'm a little stumped on.
Yeah. Well, last week we had the Killers mentioned, and that was the first time I recognized one of the bands. So.
What are some of the hit songs? Maybe we'll do those.
They're an Irish band, The Man Who Can't Be Moved.
You
know that one, Tony?
No, I'm sorry.
Tony only listens to the CDs that they sell at Tim Hortons. So.
No,
I'll be honest with you. I'm not that into music, so that one's tripped me up a little bit. Some of the changing room songs as well are a little bit questionable, but everyone's got their own taste.
I'm more a classic rock kind of fella, and although my favorite bands, and I don't know if you knew this, Bill, but I'll throw it in. My two favorite bands are the Cars and Collective Soul. So they've been around for a while. So I guess I'm not up with the new stuff anymore.
Well, I will say that Collective Soul, they were pretty big when I was in high school. The Cars, I've heard of the Cars and I've seen some music videos, but I'm not too familiar. I would think you'd be a Crash Test Dummies guy. Aren't they Canadian?
Oh, you got me. I know Chilliwack is Canadian and Tragically Hip. They're probably one of the best bands out of Canada. If you guys haven't heard of them, Google it. Anyway, that's we've sidetracked a little bit, Phil. I'm going to go back to a question for David. What's your favorite TV program?
Super Sunday.
Oh, do you know that one, Phil?
I don't.
Yeah, that's just the football on a Sunday. That's what it's called on Sky.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So It'd be like the highlights of the week for football.
Yeah, it's just they've got the Sunday games on it, so that's all I watch on a Sunday. Just every game that's on. If it's on the TV, I watch it. So that's my favorite program. I don't watch much TV during the week, to be honest.
Well, I'm with you. I if there's a football match or a basketball game or a baseball game or a hockey game or pretty much any kind of sport on, I'll watch it. If it's anything else, probably not. I mean, I watched Seinfeld, but that was 20 years ago.
What is there a stadium that you would like to play in, like a well-known stadium, or one that you'd like to tick it off your bucket list?
That one's got to be Anfield.
Also, you're a Red.
Yeah,
you're a Red fan.
But yeah, I am, and the fans have got to be there. It can't be. There's no point playing there if the fans aren't there.
Yeah.
So who's the most passionate Liverpool supporter in the locker room?
It's got to be the gaffer, John Coleman.
Good answer.
Did you, the first match that ever took place in the Football League was at Anfield, and it was involving Accrington. Do you know who the opposition was?
No, I don't actually.
It was Everton.
Ah.
So just a little bit of trivia for the fellas in the clubhouse, because Liverpool wasn't formed until 2 years later, I think. Anyway,
yeah. So that's where the thing comes from when Everton fans all say, "Oh, we gave you Anfield. It was ours."
Yeah. Well, apparently that's true. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any superstitions prior to a match?
Not particularly, no. Nothing that I would sort of superstitiously stick to. No.
Okay. It's funny because some do it. If you do, some of the ones, some can be really weird. But it seems like today's football player doesn't put a lot of stick into things like making sure you put your left boot on first and things like that. It's once you get into routines like that, it can get a little silly.
Yeah, it can, and I think for me, some of the sort of best games I've played have been potentially when I haven't prepared as well as some of the games that I haven't had a good game as well as I've prepared them. So things like that, I would always, if I had a bad game or things didn't go my way, I'd always question, well, why did you do it that way? Whereas I'm just, when I'm preparing for a game, obviously I'm thinking about the game and things like that. But when I'm getting changed and whatever, I'm not really considering what part of kit I've put on first or what football boot I put on first.
Well, that's probably a good thing, not to get into a habit of those things, because as I said, it can get a bit carried away. I just wanted to jump back to a question that I had down, but it's also Phil that Peter had in his Peter's Corner, and it's intrigued me because I think this might be the first player that we've had on our podcast that has actually studied this course at university, that you've got your first class degree in professional sports writing and broadcasting. And Peter and this is something that we all are interested in. Is that something that you're preparing yourself for a career after football?
Not exactly straight into that line of work. No, it sort of coincided with me like planning away from football, and it allowed me to go and become a qualified PE teacher. So that's the reason that I did the degree, because you need a degree to be able to go on to be able to teach. So I was interested in it, but in that line of work was not exactly what I wanted to go down. So the answer is no to that.
So Phil, we don't have to be. I say, Phil, we don't have to be worried about him taking our jobs then.
I was going to say that a lot of guys have kind of told us that they've gone that same route where teaching, whether it be PE or English or whatever it would be, and then playing in the non-leagues and kind of working their way into the football league that way. I know Colby Bishop had a similar story. Is that is something where you guys kind of have a common bond? When you guys have, everybody has their own story of how they got to the football league, but I know that's something where several guys have told us that.
Yeah, I think it's one of them sort of roles that it allows you to sort of branch off in a lot of different ways. It's quite similar to coaching. So if further down the line you consider coaching, well, you've got a little bit of experience in whether you like it or not. But it's also a job that coincides with football. So Colby, it would have suited Colby when he was playing at Leamington because they were part-time. It suited me when I was at Southport because we were part-time. So it's something that sort of relates to football, and you can relate to kids through football when you've played at a decent level. So it is something that I know a lot of sort of people who play sports go into.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even the gaffer was a teacher at one point also.
Yeah,
he spoke to me about that a couple of times. He used to chop and change. He didn't teach the maths. He swapped with the other teacher and he took the PE.
We have you down. Obviously, when you read up about you, it says you're a midfielder, and I mean that's such an encompassing position in today's football because you can play anywhere from in front of the back 3 or 4, or to be a number 10 role. What best describes your work as a midfielder, David?
At the present moment, I would probably consider myself as a box-to-box midfielder. I prefer playing in like a number 8 role where you can go and join in, gives you that license to join in with attacks, and I think that's potentially why I enjoyed Southport so much because I had that freedom to go and influence the game higher up the pitch. When I was younger, I played in front of the back 4, so I understand that role. It sort of is a little bit different in Accrington's team of what's expected of you. But personally, I'd like playing as a number 8 box to box and potentially pushing into that number 10 role.
Well, see that actually. Yeah, sorry, Phil.
I was just going to say that I think that number 8 position is something where it's become an increasingly more important position in modern football because, like you said, I mean, you're that one guy where you're just a little bit behind the offensive guys, but then you're a little bit in front of the defensive guys. So it really gives you that opportunity to impact both sides of the game, both, if you want to play forward and score or come back and help the back 4, you're really there where you can do either thing, and you really excel at the two-way game, if you will.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've felt a little bit off the pace in my first couple of games, and I think that's purely down to me not playing a lot of football since sort of Christmas time. But I know to play in that position, you've got to be the fittest you can be, and you've got to be one of the fittest in the squad to play in that position. So I backed myself with a good pre-season and sort of 6 weeks in the summer, getting myself 100% fit, and I backed myself to come in and sort of that number 8 position. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to be able to join in the attacks, but I also want to be able to help out the back 3 or back 4, whatever we play.
Well, it only took you 16 minutes to get your first assist when you came into Accrington. You subbed on, it was the 74th minute against Lincoln City, and then you found Dion Charles in the 90th minute for what was a game-tying assist. What was it like to have an impact play that quickly? I know you talked earlier about sometimes you can get a mental block if it's been a while since you scored. So I'm sure just getting an assist and a crucial one like that right off the bat, that had to be huge for you mentally.
Yeah, it was. It was massive. Obviously, I know Dion, so I know what type of runs he makes, and I know where he generally will be in play. So as soon as I received the ball there, I know it's only a tiny little gap, so I've got to put enough pace on the ball to get it through there. But that's what sort of what I want to bring to the team. I want to be able to break lines with passes, and I want to pass forward. Don't want to play safe, and I want to create things for the team. So getting that out of the way was a big bonus for me.
Well, the first 6 appearances that you made for the club were as a substitute, and now you've started 4 matches in a row. So that definitely tells me that the gaffer likes what he's seeing out of you, and that has to build some confidence to see your name in that starting 11 now.
Yeah, well, when I came, anything sort of that. Any games that I played this season were always going to be a bit of a bonus for me, because it is a big jump from where I've come from, and like I said to you, fitness levels and things like that need to be sort of higher from National League North to League One. But yeah, to be sort of to have started the last 4 games, it's really pleasing for me, and I'm glad the gaffer's got the trust in me to play.
And that leads me on to talking about your play in midfield, but and since you've been at Stanley, the change in systems, sometimes it's been 3 at the back and sometimes it's been 4, and then you've played with a diamond in the midfield. That's a lot for you to take in and adapt to, and that's obviously has taken some time. But also on top of that, the jump from National League North to League One, that's quite a jump. What's the biggest thing you've noticed about the quality of play from the jump?
Well, the quality of play is obviously much higher. Players don't give the ball as well much, and I've probably been as guilty as anyone of that in the 4 games that I've started. But the pace is another thing. It's a lot faster. But I would say, like you've mentioned there, different formations and things like that, they all come into play. So you talk about, I've played in a lot of different formations. It's also difficult when you come in as well, because you've got to get to know the players. We've had a lot of injuries, so the teams have changed. So I've been playing with different midfield players, different defenders. So all that sort of has a big influence on like what I'm able to bring as well, because it's nice to have a run to understand the team, what the team dynamics, to understand what's expected of you. But the jump from National League North to League One is quite a big jump, but I think that I've handled that quite well, and hopefully I can only keep progressing and improving.
Well, and you've jumped right into a really a battle for a playoff position, and obviously Stanley just gone through a bit of a poor run, and then with that win, obviously the help to turn things around. But every team that you look at in League One at some point has gone into either a good run or poor form. I mean, your opposition this weekend, Peterborough, they've lost 3 out of the last 5. So there's every team there is something that you can beat, right? And you can feel you can beat every team.
Well, I think that's the one thing that sort of came out of League One this year, is the fact that everyone has beat everyone. It wasn't long ago that Peterborough had won 6 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've got to aspire to do. There's nothing to say that we can't go and win 3, 4, 5 games on the bounce. And then you're creating an environment where you're just bouncing into the next game where it's very difficult for you to lose because you just got that momentum that's dragging you over the line every week. I watched Peterborough last night. They played Blackpool and they lost 3-1. So we'll be under no illusions on Saturday that's going to be an easy game. It won't be an easy game. Every game in League One's difficult, but I think the important thing is that we know there's an opportunity there to get 3 points.
Well, and you mentioned Blackpool. There's another team that moved up the league with rounding into form. Oxford was another team that went into a winning streak and then have lost 3 out of the last 4. And you look at the table. I'm not sure. So, are you a player that looks at the table, David, or are you just something looks to say we'll take one game at a time?
I'll have a look at the table, but it's just important, I think, that you remember sort of how well Accrington have actually done. That's important to remember. There'll be a lot of people that will obviously be delighted if Accrington make the playoffs, we make the playoffs, but there'll be a lot of people who will be disappointed and potentially will turn around and say, well, maybe we should have made the playoffs. But I think you have to remember that it's been such a strange season with COVID and things like that. So it's important to always remember, how well and how sort of well the lads have done to achieve what they've achieved so far.
Well, there's only 4 points separating 12 from 5th place. So you go on a streak and anything's possible. I mean, people can't say because you're 12 can't write Stanley off as not a playoff team because, the way you performed on Saturday and players coming back, there's full belief in that you can make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what we've got to be setting our targets on. Firmly believe that there's an opportunity there for us to get in the playoffs. With 11 games to go, it's wide open. It's as wide open as it's ever been. We've got in the playoffs since I've been there, but we haven't really gone and sort of made that one of them playoff positions our own. So it's all down to us, what we want, what we can produce. And like you say, might be our time now to have a little bit of a run. And if we can put a few results together, it's there for the taking.
Yeah, you've got a busy April coming up, I think, with 7 or 8 matches. So you're going to need everybody, players coming back and everybody in the squad because everybody plays a part. And we just look forward to watching you on the pitch again and pushing Stanley towards a playoff position because we're convinced that this is the team that can make a good run and get into the playoffs. It's probably the best Stanley team that we've seen, and you're a part of it. So we thank you for your time today, David, and as we like to say, continued success and all the best to you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. As Tony was saying, and I definitely, I see it in this team. I mean, like Tony said, and you watch this club and there is not one team that you can't compete with. Peterborough, they're one of the top teams in the league talent-wise. And I certainly remember that earlier in the season, I think it was maybe the second match of the year, Stanley really just took it to Peterborough. So there's no reason that you guys can't take 3 points from the Podge. And as close as the race is, with just a few points separating things, I mean, I think back to what was it 2 seasons ago that Aston Villa went on that run where they won 10 matches in a row and got into the playoffs of the championship, and there's no reason that you guys can't go on a run like that, and you guys have the talent and the coaching staff to do it, and And like Tony said, our favorite phrase that Tony has coined is continued success, because that's what we wish for you. Continued success both this year with Stanley and throughout your career. We will definitely follow your career wherever it leads you. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today on Across the Pitch. And as we promised at the beginning of the show, since you do have that sports journalism degree, we wanted to have you give us a grade on your Across the Pitch experience.
A star and 10 out of 10. So whichever way you want it graded, you've got both there.
You're not going to edit. You're not going to edit that part. I say you're not going to edit that out, are you, Phil?
No. And I think that we talk about this all the time, that the greatest compliment that we can get is knowing that the players and coaches and any guest that comes on the show enjoys themselves. And when we hear that you guys actually listen to the show, that just means the world to us. And thank you again for taking an hour with us today, David. And we always like to finish up with an on Stanley on. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. On Stanley on.
Cheers, David.
Cheers, David.
No problem. Thank you very much.